This is the start of side 2 of the Enfield Talking newspaper, and the special news items this week will be about our AGM and also Enfield Vision's Technology Day. First of all, we held our AGM at the Park Avenue Disability Centre, Bush Hill Park, on Monday the 30th of June. This was following a request by listeners and volunteers that we should change the time of the year to something a bit more convenient. So this was the first time we've held an AGM in June, and the first time we had it at the Park Avenue Disability Centre. But I'm sorry to say we were disappointed with the attendance of volunteers and listeners. We shall probably keep the same time of year and venue next year and hope we'll all remember to turn up. Diane de Jersey has told me that the Enfield Vision are holding a technology day for the visually impaired, and this is also at the Park Avenue Disability Centre on the 20th of August. Remember, the 20th of August, and it starts at 10 o'clock and goes on till 3 p.m. They will also be having their usual drop-in centre on the 21st of August, also at Park Avenue. And now over to Francis for the next item of news. Oh, we're going to have sport. Sorry.
Football. Enfield Town will begin their quest to secure promotion from Ryman League Division 1 North on Saturday when Malden Town make the trip to Goldsdown Road. Following a disappointing season which saw them finishing in a lowly 12th position, the summer has seen co-managers Stuart Margolis and Adam Lee undertake a major overhaul of the squad. A host of new arrivals have included midfield duo Gazman Doughty and Rio Alderton and forward Mitch Hahn, while several first-team regulars, including Andy Jones, Steve Valandia and Kofi Nyama, have moved on. The past week has seen Town conclude their hectic pre-season schedule with 2 more games, losing 3-2 at home to Hendon on Thursday, before launching a dramatic fight back to secure a 3-3 draw at AFC Sudbury on Saturday. Trailing 3-1 with time running out, Michael Dean and Luke Marshall found the target for Town to add to Rudy Hall's earlier goal and ensure that the encounter finished all square. It was good to come back so strongly, said Margolis. It shows that our fitness levels are there and proves that the hard work we've put in during pre-season has paid off. We had 8 first-team squad players missing on Saturday, and I think it shows how far we've come that we were able to get a draw at Sudbury with so many people unavailable. We're leaking too many goals at the moment, but once we've got our regular back 4 in place, I'm sure that will change and that we'll start keeping clean sheets.
The weather was the only winner on Saturday, as the entire Middlesex County Cricket League programme was called off because of persistent rain. Southgate took to the field at home to second-place Teddington, looking for a positive result to boost their hopes of avoiding from the drop of the flight. But, after making an encouraging start to the encounter, play was washed out when the hosts had reached 111 for 2. Winchmore Hill endured an equally frustrating afternoon as their clash at Finchley was called off after the hosts had stuttered to 50-2, while Enfield's hope of moving clear at the top of Division 3 were put on hold as their home match against basement side Wickham House was abandoned without a ball bowled. Saturday sees Southgate facing a crucial match as they visit third from bottom Eastcote, and skipper Alvin de Cajaran is optimistic that they can secure a win which would take them to within 4 points of safety ahead of a home clash against rock-bottom Brentham. The next 2 weeks will dictate our fate, he said. If we play the same way as we have in the past few games, then I'm confident we'll get a good result. We've just got to make sure that we play well on the day. Winchmore Hill are also set for a vital weekend of action as they host Brondesbury in the league on Saturday before entertaining Finchley on Sunday in the semi-finals of the Middlesex Cup. Enfield go to Ickenham on Saturday.
While the Beijing Olympics kicked off last week, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club staged its own games for children. The Tottenham Hotspur Foundation Kicks Olympics took place at 6 venues across North London, including the Lee Valley Athletic Centre. 2 years ago, Spurs was selected as one of the 3 professional football clubs to pilot Kicks, with the main aim being to provide young people with alternatives to a potential involvement with crime and antisocial behaviour within a constructive and safe environment. The club piloted the original project on the Ferry Lane housing estate in Tottenham with great success. In September 2007, Prime Minister Gordon Brown announced the expansion of the Kicks programme as part of a 3-year multi-million-pound investment from the Football Foundation and the Metropolitan Police. It was also received support from DCMS via the Premier League's Good Causes Fund and the youth voluntary charity V. Gary Broadhurst, Tottenham Hotspur's Foundation Community Development Manager, said, "An Olympic theme is topical with the Beijing Games taking place, and one of my coaches, Terry Fogarty, came up with this ingenious idea. So the heats took place at our various Kicks projects before the cream of the crop came here to the Lee Valley Centre. There is often a negative perception of young people nowadays, but programmes like Kicks, thanks to funding from our partners, can actually give participants something constructive and positive to do with their time."
More than 500 children were treated to a fun day of activities in Enfield Town Park last Wednesday. Bouncy castles and arts and crafts and dance workshops were the order of the day at the event in the park in Cecil Road, Enfield. Children were treated to plenty of free entertainment and a disco as well as a number of competitions. Play Development Manager Ricky Williams said, "This year's Playday campaign theme, Give Us a Go, calls for children to take part in challenging and adventurous play opportunities and aims to shake off the cotton wool culture that can limit children's play. This is the 21st annual event, which is being played out in parks right across the country, sponsored by Play England, to highlight the physical, emotional, intellectual and educational benefits of playing, either in a group or individually."
Edmonton's Beat Bobbies have raised more than £2,500 to help fund a football club for local youths. The money has been given to the Ace Soccer Academy, which is looking to set down roots in the borough. The group, which targets deprived areas and trains youngsters who might not otherwise get the chance to play football, already runs several academies in North London. The Lower Edmonton Safer Neighbourhood team was asked for help in funding the project in a bid to turn children away from gangs and youth crime. The academy will coach kids aged 6 to 16. Ace Soccer Academy manager Phillip said, "We're delighted to have received this funding. Everyone is welcome to come along and participate, no matter what their ability is, and I hope that it will allow us to continue to provide youngsters with the opportunity to channel their creative skills into something that is worthwhile and prevent them from pursuing a path that may lead them into crime." The money was handed over during a special ceremony at Pims Park last Wednesday, which saw officers pitching in to learn ball skills from the coaches. A football summer school has been up and running since last week in Bush Hill Park in Lincoln Road, Enfield. During term time, the academy trains at Church Street Recreation Ground in Hazelbury Road, Edmonton. For more information, call Phillip on 07984 842 401. That's 07984 842 401.
Enfield Council has apologised to residents in Ponders End after rubbish was not collected from damaged bins. Janine Stewart, aged 24, was moving into a 2-bedroom flat in Keats Close, Ponders End, last month, but when she saw the rats running round the overflowing bins and along the street, she refused to move in. Miss Stewart, who has a son, Leo, who turns 2 next month, spent the next few days contacting the maintenance company, her housing manager and the council about the infestation. After a week of chasing the authorities, last Tuesday the council cleared away the rubbish and apologised to Miss Stewart and other residents. Last week the mother told the Advertiser, "I'm pulling my hair out. It stinks. I can't bring my child up in this. When you're homeless, you need somewhere to live. But if you make people live with rats, They might as well live on the streets. When I was given the key on Thursday, I was being told to hurry up and read the tenancy agreement, and I didn't have the time to make sure I looked around the flat properly. After speaking to other residents, Miss Stewart was told the bins had not been collected for 8 weeks, and that the bin men refused to collect them if they were too full or half empty. A council spokesman said the communal bins are regularly collected twice a week. However, it appears that some damaged bins have not been collected. This has now been rectified, and procedures will be in place to ensure that this does not happen again. Environmental health officers will be in contact with the private managing agents to deal with the rat problem. In the meantime, the Enviro Crime Unit will be investigating allegations of fly tipping in the area, and if needed, will take swift action. Terry Neville, Cabinet Member for the Environment, added, "I would like to apologise to Miss Stewart and any other residents who have been adversely affected by this sorry state of affairs. It's completely unacceptable that any bins have not been collected, and I have now ordered a thorough investigation into the whole affair to ensure that this isolated incident is not repeated."
A crooner was drafted into a retirement home last Tuesday to help a man celebrate his 100th birthday. Staff, family members and fellow residents joined Joseph Wilton for a day-long garden party to mark the milestone at Reardon Court in Cosgrove Close, Winchmore Hill. A singer was hired in to sing old-time favourites, including requests from the residents of the retirement home. Originally from Shoreditch, Joseph made a living as a carpenter, working alongside his brother for the family business. The company made bespoke furniture as well as cribs for babies and intricate dolls' houses for local youngsters. The sprightly pensioner now spends his time poring over as many newspapers as he can get his hands on. Ahead of the party, Joseph said, "I am very looking forward to my telegram from the Queen and the party. It should be wonderful in the garden among so many good friends." Care officer Tracy French described Mr. Wilton as a true gentleman. She added, "He has no children of his own, but he's always looked after his niece Terry, who is coming down to see him from York. He is so friendly and is always looking out for other residents around him. He's very smart and always wears a tie. He loves ginger wine, and we have to make sure there's a little bit left in the bottle, otherwise he would drink it all. He gets the Daily Express every day, and he loves going to the cockle sheds in Southend, when he can get there." Mr. Wilton moved to Reardon Court a year ago from his home in Winchmore Hill, following a fall. He was married to Rose. Well, happy birthday.
An Edmonton church dating back to Norman times marks the original layout of the eastern part of a borough, according to Enfield Council's heritage strategy. Parts of All Saints' Church date back to Norman times, and the church is mentioned in the 36-page document published earlier this month. The church in Church Street, Edmonton, is part of a borough's foundations and defines much of a layout for the road network in Edmonton. The oldest parts of the church include the chancel, nave, northern aisle, vestry and the bell tower, which has 8 bells, the oldest dating back to 1734. The first recorded priest, known only as William, was at the church in 1190. Current parish priest, Father Stuart Owen, joined the church only last week after Father Brian Kiriakou, who served the parish for 9 years, retired last year. He said, "Parish churches such as All Saints have great significance in terms of architecture, history, music, arts, education, and as centres of the community. All Saints has been such a centre for more than 800 years, and I'm confident that the church has an important and as diverse a role to play now and in the centuries to come as it ever has done." Philanthropist and essayist Charles Lamb and his sister Mary are both buried in the Garden of Remembrance.
Job centre staff who've been turning away people looking for work have been reprimanded by a government department. For the past month, staff at the Job Centre Plus in Alderman's Hill, Palmer's Green, have been refusing to allow anyone to use its job point terminals if they're already employed, a policy completely against Job Centre rules. The Advertiser raised the issue with the Department for Work and Pensions a month ago when a reader reported it, but the government department denied it was happening. It was only when an undercover reporter visited the premises last week and was also turned away that the DWP admitted the job centre's mistake and apologised. Tony Stacey, aged 43, from Dean's Drive, Palmer's Green, was told by staff that unless he was claiming benefits, he would not be able to use the terminals. "It's a job centre. It says that outside on the front," he said. "How can they stop you looking for a job when it's funded by the taxpayer?" Mr. Stacey said, "Everyone who goes in there gets stopped. When I went in there, it was empty, so it couldn't have been because it was too busy inside. It's utterly ridiculous." A DWP spokesman apologised for the mistake. He said all customers are free to use the job points within Job Centre Plus offices, but can also use alternative methods, such as the Job Centre Plus Internet and the Job Seeker Direct hotline, to inquire about vacancies. Due to a misunderstanding, some customers may have been advised otherwise, and we apologise for any confusion this has caused. All staff have now been made aware of the correct procedures.
They are often the most misunderstood members of a family, kept outside, told off frequently, and forced to eat off the floor. But according to an animal behaviourist from Southgate, pets should be treated as if they are real members of the family. Vicky Alhadef helps people fix unsociable pet problems, such as cats spraying over furniture or dogs constantly barking. She describes her job as being like a detective. "I have to investigate what's wrong," she said. "I spend 2 or 3 hours talking to the owners, just observing the pet, asking questions all the time. Afterwards, I offer an aftercare telephone service." Cats and dogs are her main areas of expertise, and Vicky says most problems boil down to the pet feeling insecure. She said, "I had one client whose cat kept on spraying all over the house. In the end, they just had to keep her in the kitchen all the time. The problem was due to the fact that the cat slept on the floor, but another cat from the neighbourhood kept on breaking into the house through the kitchen cat flap. The owners eventually shelled out £300 for a high-tech cat flap, which was meant to stop this happening, but the other cat kept on breaking in. Cats only spray in a house to make themselves feel secure, so I suggested, as the cat was sleeping on the floor, she should have a high vantage point where she could sleep. Also, I suggested leaving scratching posts wherever she sprayed, because when cats scratch, they release scent as well. One of the keys to keeping a pet happy is to imitate its natural environment as much as possible. An ideal environment for cats is when they have access to the garden, as they can do their hunting practice," said Vicky. "If they have an opportunity to do this, then they feel fulfilled. You have far more problems if you keep them inside." And according to Vicky, dogs are much more social animals, so they need to be kept around people or with other dogs. Dogs are much more dependent upon us for their mental stimulation, she said. In the wild, they move around in teams, and they are more sociable than humans. The problem with us is that we get them as puppies, take them home alone, go out to work and leave them alone for hours and hours. By doing this, they get bored and frustrated. Also, a lot of these dogs are bred for a purpose, like gun dogs or the bull breeds, and they are never actually used for that purpose. To train dogs effectively, Vicky recommends a gentle, non-violent method, using food as the incentive for good behaviour. One bit of advice is to throw away the food bowl and train them to do all the things you want them to, by rewarding them with food, she said. Whenever the puppy does what you like, you reward him immediately. If he does something you don't like, then ignore him. Vicky has been an animal behaviourist for 3 years, and prior to this was an award-winning photographer for the Enfield Advertiser. I loved my photography work, but was looking forward to a new challenge after 25 years of doing the same thing, she said. I've always loved animals, and one day when I saw a magazine advert for an animal behaviourist, it was like an epiphany. I had always been around animals, and to make a career out of it is a dream. Now I'm doing what I love, and the job satisfaction is immense, especially when I help make a pet part of its family again. If you want Vicky's help, call her on 07800 915 609. That's 07800 915 609, or visit her website at all the W's, Pause with Image, that's PAWSWITHIMAGE.co.uk.
An Enfield singing star helped her choir take another step to glory in a BBC reality TV show. Joanna Breheny is part of the Academy of Contemporary Music, or the ACM choir. And on Saturday night, the 22-year-old helped her choir reach the final 5 of popular programme Last Choir Standing. The BBC show entered its crunch stage last weekend with 6 choirs from across the UK singing live. The 25-strong ACM impressed the judges and legions of viewers with their rendition of September by Earth, Wind and Fire to take one of the 4 automatic qualification spots for the next programme. After a live sing-off, the Electric Sense of Sound were voted off with the judges, saving the other gospel choir to reach the televised stages Revelation. Speaking before the knockout stages, which ACM had won through 3 rounds to reach, Joanna said, "There will be more pressure because we have not had much time to rehearse and we'll just have to keep on going if something goes wrong. But as the ACM choir is comprised of academy students, it means members are well equipped to handle mishaps."
A Diamond couple celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary last week. Doris and Guy Hammond, who have lived in Overton Road since 1952, were married on August the 7th, 1948. The couple, now aged 85 and 84 respectively, met while working at an insurance company. They were forced to put their plans on hold due to both being called up to serve in World War II. Mr. Hammond worked as a flying officer navigator, and Mrs. Hammond worked at the Military Intelligence Centre and then the Canadian Military Headquarters in Trafalgar Square. The couple has one child, Jill, who was born in 1956. A love of sport runs through the family, with Mr. Hammond president of Southgate Cricket Club from 1984 to 1988, and their grandson now playing for Chessington Cricket Club. The couple was joined by a small group of family and friends to celebrate their milestone at the Norfolk restaurant in London Road. When asked what their secret to a long married life is, Mr. Hammond said, "All couples have arguments, but as long as you kiss before you go to bed, that should solve your problem."
A rare pig has given birth to a litter of 7 piglets in a farm owned by Lee Valley Park Farms. The pig, named Sharon, is one of a rare breed previously thought to be extinct for some 40 years, called Pure Essex. The piglets, which each weigh just under 3 pounds, will take a year to grow to a porky 40 stone when they're fully grown. Farm manager James Broomfield said, "Sharon's piglets are a cross between Essex and the farm's large white boar, Adrian. We hope to borrow an Essex boar from Jimmy's farm, a farm specialising in rare breeds, so that Sharon's next litter will be pure Essex." Residents can now visit Sharon and her litter at Lee Valley Park Farms in Stubbins Hall Lane, Waltham Abbey.
I can't wait to get on now. Fake vodka has flooded Enfield's shops, risking the health of drinkers. The bootleg liquor, which has been put in bottles bearing the name Glen's Vodka, but is not made by the company, causes blurred vision, dizziness and breathing difficulties. Enfield Council's food safety team has warned traders not to stock the counterfeit bottles and to report traders to them if they are approached. Bob Griffiths, head of commercial standards, said, "Anyone who has drunk this counterfeit vodka should seek immediate medical advice." Although the levels of methanol found in this drink are not at a dangerous level, they are higher than those found in genuine products and can cause severe side effects, including dizziness and blurred vision. Mr. Griffiths warned shopkeepers to spot the signs of dodgy traders selling the fake booze. He said, "The majority of counterfeit goods are sold directly to retailers by passing traders or white van operators who are unlikely to provide any contact details or paperwork. My advice is steer well clear of these white van man types, because if you buy any bogus booze and someone becomes ill, we will trace it back to you and we will prosecute you." The fake vodka bottles can be identified by a small AGC logo on the base.
Several Enfield primary schools are still waiting on marks despite results of the controversial SACS exams finally being released last week. The heavily delayed results for the standard assessment tests by 10 and 11-year-olds in May shows improvements on last year's figures, but that Enfield children still lag behind their peers nationally. However, a complete picture cannot be seen as a number of schools are still missing results. These include Churchfield Primary School, which has yet to receive its science results, Bowes Primary School, which has 15% of its English marks missing. The results received shows that pupils in Enfield are still lagging behind the national average in science. Nationally, 88% of pupils have achieved at least a level 4, but that drops to 84.1% in Enfield. The figure is also lower than last year's average in Enfield of 85%. The pupils have managed to outdo last year's efforts in English, though.
A young filmmaker from Enfield has made it to the finals of a prestigious national short film competition. Serdar Ferret's burgeoning silver screen career took a massive leap forward after Elevator Music, a film he wrote and produced, was included in the last 12 selected by experts judging the Virgin Media Shorts 2008 award. Elevator Music, a comedy about clashing music tastes in a lift, was shot in Wood Green. Serdar said, "I'm delighted to have got this far. I noticed that a lot of the films that have been shortlisted had funding, but my film was made in one take with a budget of only £600, because that's all I had. It was inspired by teenagers on a bus who play music aloud on their mobiles, and I wanted to create a comedy around this street stereotype. I'm pleased with it, but I already have other projects in the pipeline. But it would be great to win, as I love the work."
A fraudster has temporarily dodged jail and was left free to celebrate her birthday this week after claiming a sore elbow left her incapable of attending court. Ruth Akinyemi of Park Road in Enfield Lock was due to appear at the Old Bailey to be sentenced for her part in a £500,000 identity fraud scam. Akinyemi was convicted in April of conspiracy to steal the personal information of Barclays Bank customers where she worked, so that a criminal gang could access and empty accounts. It was described as an alarmingly simple plot. On Monday, she was set to learn her fate, but failed to show up. Akinyemi complained that a car crash and subsequent surgery meant she could not stand before Judge Anthony Morris. It means the convicted criminal was free to celebrate her 23rd birthday. Judge Morris said, "This has been going on for 4.5 months. I do not consider stiffness of the right elbow a good reason not to proceed to sentence." Sentencing will now take place on September the 15th.
We've reached the end of our programme for this week. So from the team of Francis and Philip, well done, Philip. It's been great. Alan and myself, with Dave on the controls. It's goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet and return the packet to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you in 1 week's time.